Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a philosophy that is absolutely essential for anyone trying to make it in the wild world of crypto. It's a strategy, really a whole mindset, that pretty much defines long-term success. And the craziest part? It all started with a simple typo.
All right, so let's just get right to it, the big question. Why do most crypto investors lose money? I mean, you hear the stories, right? And sure, sometimes it's because the tech fails or they bet on the wrong horse, but the real reason? It's usually something much more personal.
Believe it or not, their greatest adversary is themselves. Yeah, you heard that right. The biggest risk in crypto isn't a hacker or a bad regulation. It's the person looking back at you in the mirror. Our brains, with all those emotional triggers for fear and greed, they are practically tailor-made to be played by the market's insane ups and downs.
So that brings us to the crypto mind game. This isn't just about charts and white papers, it's about mastering the battle within. Because at the end of the day, crypto is a profound psychological game. And if you want to win, you've got to get a handle on what's going on inside your own head first.
Just think about it for a second. The crypto market is this relentless 24/7 machine. It never stops. It's constantly feeding you a stream of hype and fear, and its only goal, really, is to provoke you into making an impulsive move. It's a trap, and it works beautifully, sucking investors into that classic painful cycle of buying high and selling low. So how in the world do you fight back against that? How do you win this mind game? Well, the answer is kind of hilarious. It didn't come from some high-powered Wall Street analyst. Nope, it came from a typo. A simple, glorious, and probably whiskey-fueled typo on an old internet forum.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The date is December 2013. Bitcoin is in an absolute freefall. We're talking a gut-wrenching crash of nearly 50%. Panic is in the air. Then, on the Bitcoin Talk forum, some user, clearly fed up, posts a thread titled, "I am hodling." That typo? It instantly became this iconic symbol of defiance against panic selling. A legend was born.
And his post was just so raw. He said, "I am hodling. You only sell in a bear market if you are a good day trader or an illusioned noob. The people in between hold." Man, that just hit home for so many people. It perfectly captured that feeling of just gritting your teeth and resisting the overwhelming urge to panic. It wasn't about being smart, it was about being stubborn.
And just like that, HODL went from a funny typo to a core philosophy. Let's be really clear here. HODL isn't just buying something and forgetting about it. It is an active, conscious commitment to a long-term vision. It's you making a deliberate choice to ignore the short-term noise, to reject the emotional trading driven by fear or greed.
And this whole philosophy, it really rests on three key pillars. First, HODL is about faith, a deep, fundamental belief in the underlying technology and where it's headed long-term. Second, it's about culture. It's this shared identity that takes all that individual fear and turns it into collective power. And finally, HODL is an act of resistance. It's actively saying no to the emotional, short-term trading game. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. To HODL effectively, you first have to understand the emotional roller coaster the market is going to put you on. And trust me, it knows exactly which buttons to push to mess with your head. We're talking FOMO, FUD, and straight-up panic. What you see here are the two big cycles that trap almost everyone. On one side, you've got the greed cycle, or FOMO, fear of missing out. That's when you see prices just rocketing up and you feel this irresistible pull to buy in, usually right at the top. And on the other side, the fear cycle, or FUD. That's when prices are crashing, you're gripped by terror, and you sell everything just to make the pain stop, usually right at the bottom. And this cycle, it's so predictable, it's almost painful. It starts with euphoria. Oh my God, everyone's getting rich. I gotta buy now. Then, a little dip and anxiety kicks in. Wait, why is it going down? This isn't right. That turns into full-blown panic. It's crashing. I gotta sell, save what I can. And finally, despair. Crypto is dead. What have I done? Understanding these stages is the first step to breaking that cycle. Okay, so that's the theory. But what does this look like in the real world? Well, crypto history is filled with legends that teach us a thing or two about patience. These stories really hammer home the power of HODL. Let's kick things off with maybe the most famous cautionary tale in all of crypto. The number you need to remember is 10,000 Bitcoin. That's the price that was paid for 2 pizzas back in 2010. Yes, 2 pizzas. Any guess what the value of those 2 pizzas is today? We're talking over $400 million. Now look, the guy was a pioneer, he was proving a point, but it's the ultimate example of confusing short-term gratification with massive long-term value.
But on the flip side, you have stories of incredible conviction. Take the Dow hack in 2016. $50 million worth of ETH was stolen. The price just plummeted, and FUD was absolutely everywhere. Everyone was saying Ethereum was done for. But what did the core community do? They didn't panic sell. They rallied, they executed a hard fork to save the project. Their belief was in the tech, not the price. That conviction is literally why Ethereum is here today.
So this all leads to the big question, right? How do you actually build that kind of mental toughness to hold through all that chaos? Well, you have to forge what the community calls diamond hands.
And look, this isn't just some silly internet meme. It represents two fundamentally different mindsets. On one side, you've got paper hands. They sell at the first sign of trouble. They just can't take the heat. On the other, you have diamond hands. These are the people with the mental fortitude to hold through insane volatility, both the crashes and the pumps, because they're locked into their vision. This is like a warrior's armor, and it's built on 3 pillars of conviction. First, knowledge. Doing your own research is your shield against all the fear and doubt. Second, community. A shared belief with others is your anchor in a storm. And third, vision. Having faith in the long-term future lets you just tune out all the noise of today.
And part of building that armor is knowing the mental traps you need to avoid. Things like anchoring, where you get so fixated on your purchase price you can't think clearly. Or confirmation bias, where you basically create an echo chamber for yourself by only looking for good news. And the big one, herd mentality, just buying or selling because everyone else is. For each trap, there's an antidote, a simple question or action to keep you grounded.
Okay, so this brings us to the final and maybe most important piece of the puzzle: patience. This is your strongest weapon, because true hodling is not about passively waiting around. It's about turning waiting into winning. This is what we call active hodling. You transform waiting into a strategic advantage. You use downturns to dollar-cost average. You use the quiet times to do more research. You can even get into things like staking your assets. The point is, you're not just sitting there. You're making time your greatest ally. You know, this idea isn't some new crypto thing. The quote says it all. The market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. That's been true for 100 years, but it's never been more true than it is in crypto. The takeaway is simple, but actually doing it, that's the hard part. So, the market transfers wealth from the impatient to the patient. The only question left is, which one are you? Because in this battle, your conviction, your research, your vision, they're all important, but your most powerful weapon will always be your patience.